Invite the chief instructor of this course, Dr. Tinku Bali, who will speak on OCT, what an anterior segment surgeon should know.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry we had to reschedule the talks a little bit. I had a parallel session. So this was the first talk of the session. This is on OCT, what an anterior segment surgeon should know. Well, we all are now dealing with OCTs. We all should know how to interpret, and most of the anterior segment surgeons do get an OCT done before cataract surgery. So I'll just give you quick tips on how to interpret OCT. We all know that it is an optical biopsy of the retina, and it very well depicts the layered anatomy of the retina. Now, there have been a lot of changes in the OCT over the years, and now it's become very high resolution. OCT is now available, with 3D rendering also is available. So when you're seeing the OCT, you see the quantitative analysis and the qualitative analysis. So the quantitative analysis gives you the thickness of the central subfield area. So the central subfield thickness there, you can see, that is the most important area that we concentrate on. The qualitative analysis is when you look at the different layers of the OCT. So this is the colored printout. Most often it is better to look at the black and white picture because it delineates the layers more clearly. Can I have a pointer, please? The audiovisual people. Pointer. Okay, so these are the, a laser pointer. Okay, sure. Yeah, okay. So this is the external limiting membrane. The layers that we have to watch out for is this layer here. So this layer is called the ellipsoid zone. Earlier it was called the photoreceptor integrity line or the ISOS junction, but now it's called the ellipsoid zone, and this is the line which is most important for good vision. Above that is the external limiting membrane, this lighter light that you see here, and this thicker line here is the retinal pigment epithelium. So these are the three important layers. Apart from that, the nuclear layers appear darker in color. So you see here the inner nuclear layer, the outer nuclear layer, these are the darker layers, and the lighter layers are the plexiform layers. The topmost is the nerve fiber layer and the internal limiting membrane. So most often we will be looking at the retinal pigment epithelium and the ellipsoid zone. Now, wearing diseases affect various wearing retinal layers. So, vascular disease generally affects the inner layers. Choroidal diseases generally affect these outer layers. Now, whenever we see the OCT, we don't usually look at it layer by layer. We just look at the pattern on the OCT and make an interpretation in our mind. So if you see the second picture, you see a little cystoid space here. Here you see an asymmetrical edema of the retina. You see one side there's no edema, one side is swollen up. There you see a lot of cystoid edema here, a lot of intraretinal cysts, also a subfoveal fluid collection here. Here you see some subretinal hyperreflective material. This is a pigment epithelial detachment where you see the RP is lifted up. So just by seeing these cases, you can make a diagnosis in your mind. So this is a diabetic. The second one is a diabetic macular edema. This lower picture is very typical of a vein occlusion where you get an asymmetric edema on both sides of the only one side of the fovea is swollen. That is a post-op CME, an inflammatory CME, and a wet AMD. So this lot of PEDs with intraretinal edema is AMD. So you don't have to look at it layer by layer. If you know the picture, you can make a diagnosis. So again, this is the anatomy. Now, one thing that people often get confused about is subretinal fluid versus a pigment epithelial detachment. So this is the RPE layer here, and this, as I said, was the ellipsoid zone. And fluid here, in any fluid below the retinal pigment epithelium is subretinal fluid here. So if you trace these two lines, I don't have a pointer, so I'm not. If you trace these two lines, you'll be able to make out whether it's subretinal or it's a pigment epithelial detachment, the pigment epithelium which is lifted up. So you just have to trace those two lines and see. Like here you see the RP is lifted up here. So this is a pigment epithelial detachment. This is a combination. You see the pigment epithelial detachment here. The pigment epithelial layer is elevated. Also there is fluid below this ellipsoid zone. So it's a combination. So what is this? Subretinal fluid or PED?
Subretinal.
Subretinal. So you can see that the RP layer is intact, and you can see that that's the subretinal fluid there. So again, this You see the RP layer is intact. The pigment epithelial layer is intact here. This retina is elevated. You see the ellipsoid zone is elevated, and this is some fibrin material which is present below that. So this is again this is SRF. This is not a pigment epithelial detachment. This is the subretinal fluid. Now again, by looking at the, just an interesting thing, by looking at the OCT, you can make out whether it's the left eye or the right eye. So can anyone tell me which eye is this?
The disc is on that side.
So the nerve fiber layer is thickest near the optic nerve, and you see here, this is the nerve fiber layer, the outermost layer. So just by seeing this OCT, you know that this is the left eye of the patient because this is thickest near the optic disc. So when you see an OCT, first of all, you have to determine the overall scan quality. The quality should be good, otherwise you'll not be able to see the structures. Now, reading an OCT is like reading an ultrasound because superficial structures affect the underlying tissues. So these lines here, you see these vertical lines, these are shadows of the blood vessels. They are absolutely normal, and these are shadows of blood vessels, which is causing the deeper layers to be obliterated. And that is a pigment over there that is causing shadowing. So just like an ultrasound, here you see shadowing present. Also, the layers where there is atrophy, you start seeing more of the choroidal layers. If there's atrophy of the pigment epithelium, you see more of the choroid. If there's any pigment deposition over there, then it will obscure the deeper layers. So like here, there's scar tissue, it's obscuring the deeper layers. Then see the overall scan profile. First, see if there's a pigment epithelial detachment and what kind is it? Is there any fluid below it, or is there any fibrous material? Is it fibrotic, serous, hemorrhagic? Then see whether there's a retinal detachment, whether there's any subretinal fluid. Then see for retinal thickening, whether there's any intraretinal cysts, and then look out for retinal thinning. So this is a typical picture of wet AMD where you see these multiple pigment epithelial detachments. There is some subretinal fluid also over here. This is the pigment epithelial detachment, and this is subretinal fluid. Very typical picture for an AMD when you see these large pigment epithelial detachments, and these are not serous because there's this material below it. So this is called subretinal hyperreflective material. This is again a feature of AMD, where you see this hyperreflective material below the retina. Now this is an OCT of a CSR, where you again see a combination of a pigment epithelial detachment. Now sometimes you may confuse this. You may ask that what is this line here? If the pigment epithelial detachment is there, the RP is lifted up, then what is this? So this is the Brooks layer. This is the choroidal layer here, but you see that this is more white as compared to this. So there's no need to get confused. And this is the subretinal fluid here. A branch retinal vein occlusion, I said, was always show edema on one side of the fovea, always. So this is a just by seeing this OCT, you can say it's a branch retinal vein occlusion. Again, you see there is shadowing because of the blood in the intraretinal layers. There's shadowing of all these layers here. And this is intraretinal fluid. These are cystic spaces in the retinal layers. So this is a branch retinal artery occlusion. Again, this is a typical picture of a arteriolar occlusion, where you see this dark area here due to ischemia. As compared to that side, since it's a branch occlusion, this is a very typical picture. Whenever you see this, So thinning, again, you see on one side, this is the normal side, the side which is circled, and the other side is thinned out. That also you can see on the OCT. The normal foveal contour, I'll just take some more time. The normal foveal contour is how you also assess the normal fovea. So there is this structure here, below the fovea, this little uprising here. So a lot of residents come to me and say, ma'am, is this something abnormal? This is absolutely normal. It's the normal foveal peak. The outer segments are thinner and longer. So the outer segment band appears to form a peak. It may not be present in all patients, but it's an absolutely normal finding. So see the fovea and see whether it's deformed or not. There could be an epiretinal membrane, there could be a lamellar hole, there could be a full thickness hole. And when you see the OCT, make sure that the cut has gone through the fovea. So many times when technicians or optometrists do it, they do not take the cut through the fovea. And then you may not get the complete information. After that, look at all the different layers, the posterior vitreous phase, the vitreoretinal interface, the neurosensory layers, the ellipsoid zone, the RP, and the choroid. You can identify additional structures, like I said. The vitreous can also be seen on the OCT. Vitreomacular traction is when there is this kind of a membrane. The vitreous, the posterior hyaloid, is stuck to the retina and pulling on it. So this is very often seen whenever, if you're planning a cataract surgery, because clinically you'll not be able to identify a vitreomacular traction. It's only on OCT that you're able to identify this condition. So any patient of cataract, it's always well worth to do an OCT, and many times you'll be picking up epiretinal membranes and vitreomacular traction so that you can tell the patient beforehand that you may not get very good vision or you may not get optimum vision since you have this condition. Again, epiretinal membranes, through a cataract, this kind of a fundus image may look absolutely normal, but when you do an OCT, this is what you see. Diabetic macular edema has different, there are different types of diabetic macular edema described. Again, this is something about the ellipsoid zone. Like I said, the ellipsoid zone is something before cataract surgery, you should look at it. The ellipsoid zone, this line should be continuous. If it is missing here, especially in the central area, it correlates with the visual acuity, and you should tell the patient that you may not get very good vision after cataract surgery. So always look at this line before you, to prognosticate the patient. Again, this kind of where you see the ellipsoid zone is missing completely. That line of photoreceptors is missing. This is the external limiting membrane, the thinner line here. So again, you can prognosticate and tell the patient. So again, some pitfalls: that retinal thickness, do not compare it between two different machines. Look at all the images. Like I said here, this has been done by a technician, and you see the subretinal fluid over here. This patient actually had a branch retinal vein occlusion. So it was not this here, it looks like a retinal detachment. Don't rely only on the retinal thickness. See all the scans. And in conjunction with a clinical examination, an OCT helps us with better diagnosis, classification, and monitoring. It should be done for all patients undergoing cataract surgery if possible. And it can also be an educative tool for patients. Thank you.
Very good images, Dr. Tinku.